we did our project on Merida and Tadashi.
Yep. So the phenotypes that we used for this project were eye color, hair texture, height, and then we looked at their cheeks, whether or not they had rosacea.
Okay, first up, Merida. So Merida has blue eyes, which is a recessive trait. So it's shown by two recessive alleles, which is homozygous recessive. She also has red hair, which is a recessive trait, and is shown by two recessive alleles, and is also homozygous recessive. She has curly hair, which is again a recessive trait, which is shown by two recessive alleles, and is homozygous recessive. She has rosacea cheeks, which is a dominant trait. So she is heterozygous with one dominant allele and one recessive allele. And she is also short. She is 5'4", which is our polygenic trait.
So, and then the man we chose was Tadashi. Yeah. And he has brown eyes, which is signified by a heterozygous. It's a heterozygous trait, yep. And he has, so that means he has a dominant and a recessive allele. And then he also has black hair, which is a homozygous dominant trait, and which is signified by two uppercase alleles, or two dominant alleles. And then he also has straight hair, which is the same as the black hair, and it's a homozygous dominant trait, and he has two dominant alleles. And then he also has normal cheeks, so he doesn't have rosacea, and he is also tall. He's 6 foot, so yes.
Okay, these are Punnett squares.
Whoa!
So our Punnett squares, we have hair texture, which is our incomplete dominance trait. We have eye color, which is the complete dominance trait. We have rosacea, which is the sex-linked trait, and we also have hair color, which is our co-dominance trait.
So, and then our polygenetic trait is height, and so basically polygenetic traits are controlled by many different genes received from someone's parents. So basically, it's influenced by multiple factors, not just one gene, which means we can't really do a Punnett square for it because it's really complicated to do so. And then, so specifically for our example in our family, their heights are their polygenetic trait, and because Merida is short and Tadashi is tall, there's a very big spectrum that they can have, that their kids can have within their heights, whether or not they're even male or female, that also plays into a role with it. But yeah, so their potential children have a lot of unique combinations of alleles that fall between a wide spectrum. So
yeah. So then we have our predicted outcomes for the kids. So first was genotypic ratios. So for eye color, there was a 0:1:1 ratio, meaning there was no chances of the kids having homozygous dominant alleles, and a 1:1 chance of them having either heterozygous alleles or homozygous recessive alleles. So then for hair color, there was a 0:1:0, so they could have only received heterozygous alleles. Same for hair texture, a 0:1:0, and for the rosacea, the girls had a 0:1:1 chance or ratio, whereas the boys had a 1:1, so a 50-50. And then for genotypic probabilities, the eye color was a 50-50 chance between heterozygous and homozygous recessive. There was a 100% chance for heterozygous for hair color. Same for hair texture, a 100% chance for heterozygous alleles. And for the rosacea, there is a 50-50 chance of heterozygous for the girls or homozygous recessive. And then for the boys, there was a 50-50 chance between homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive.
And we also got to look at the phenotypic ratios, so which shows whether they receive the dominant phenotype or the recessive phenotype, meaning what they show on their outside. So for eye color, that means they got a 1-to-1 ratio. And then for hair color, they got a 1-to-0 I can read numbers. A 0-to-1-to-0 ratio. And then for hair texture, they got a 0-to-1-to-0 ratio again. And then for cheeks, they both received a 1-to-1, had a 1-to-1 ratio of getting the dominant or recessive phenotype. So these probabilities represented basically for eye colors, they had a 50% chance of having blue eyes and a 50% chance of having brown eyes. And then for hair color, being the codominant trait, they had a 100% chance of a red-black hair mix. And then for hair texture, same thing. It was an incomplete dominant trait, and they had a 100% chance of getting wavy hair. And then for cheeks, both of them had the ratio of getting either 50% rosacea or 50% normal, and this is for both the boys and the girls.
Yeah. So our first kid was the boy. We named him Camaro Hamada, and he received blue eyes. So which was the recessive trait. So he received 2 recessive alleles, meaning that he was homozygous recessive. He also got a mix of red and black hair, which was represented by heterozygous alleles, so 1 dominant allele and 1 recessive allele. He also got wavy hair, which was represented by heterozygous alleles with 1 dominant and 1 recessive. And he also had normal cheeks, so he didn't show any rosacea. So he received only a recessive allele. So for Camaro to inherit these specific traits, there was a 25% chance that these would occur with each other.
And then the second child that we did was the girl, and we named her Mixasha Hamada. And she has brown eyes, which was signified by heterozygous alleles, so she has both a dominant and a recessive allele. And then she also had red and black hair together, and that was also the heterozygous trait, so she received, again, a dominant and a recessive allele. And then for wavy hair, same thing as the other 2, she was heterozygous. And then she had rosacea cheeks, which she received from her mom, and which means she has, and she was heterozygous for this, and she was able to do that because she had 2 X chromosomes because she's a girl. And that's represented by both dominant and recessive alleles again. And same as Camaro, they both had a 25% chance of being able to have these traits all mixed together at the same thing. And then, so the chance that she would inherit this, the mixed and wavy hair, was a 100% chance for both of them, whereas and the blue and the brown eyes and rosacea cheeks were each a 50% probability that she would receive those. But yeah. That's the end.
The end.
Yay! Bye, Cleveland! Thanks!